Right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Charge Pitch Practice and Feedback today. My name is Mai. For those who don't know me, I'm the program manager for Charge Incubator. And Charge, can you hear me well? Hello?
I can hear you very well, Mai.
Okay. So, sorry, Christine, but we have some issues. Right. Just let me know if you can't hear me, right? Just feel free to hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, all right. Yes, yes. Okay, so the Charge Incubator runs the entrepreneurship programs for immigrants or founders with immigrant backgrounds. We have run the program since 2017. And today we are hosting a low key session. So just treat it as the session where you get to three founders get to pitch about the startups and get feedback from David. So yes, David, to you, would you like to give us an intro about who you are?
Sure. So, hello everyone. Some of you I've met already. Some of you I have a pleasure to meet the first time. Just to, condense my career and introduction, mostly finance background, and basically in the different positions, and always try to approach my corporate life with the entrepreneurial spirit. That was kind of a good bridge when I started to invest myself, and then slowly started to build more kind of a investment company, you can call it. So I've been doing this past a few years now, based out of Norway now, but have been based in 7, 8 different countries around the world. And I have basically 7, 8 partners which invest together with me. We invest our own money, so we are not a fund. We don't manage other people's money, which is something that fits with our philosophy. We are active investors. That means that we usually invest where we think we can be helpful, and it's only one rule that we have, that we only help if we are asked. So we don't need official board seats. We don't need official positions. Everything goes. This is the premises where it has to be collaborative. And there are some investments that we made where, we don't need to be active, and that's fine. And there is some other investments which we are happy to help and jump in and do a lot of different stuff for the dollars, right? So I think the key here is that I'm a mostly our vertical is B2B SaaS. So just as a disclaimer, I don't do a lot of type of investments which I see today, but I'm still gonna try to have my generic investor hat on, give you guys as good feedback as possible. But we invest early stage, mostly pre-seed and sometimes seed, depending on the ticket sizes, but around 500,000 Norwegian krona to maybe up at 1 million krona. And then we have a very good network, which we usually utilize in Europe. I have partners sitting in Amsterdam, London, Austria, then also in US. So some of the things we help our portfolio companies is if they need to enter US market, okay, how to do that, what are the boring stuff, what kind of network you need. Other things are when you go into the next levels of investments, so seed, Series A, how to do the investment strategy. It's elaborate work, which a lot of times, due to many different reasons, inexperience or lack of time, founders don't get to really sit down and do it. Who do we need, etc., etc., why, and the whole shebang. Also been obviously myself involved in seeing a lot of pitches. So basically, probably at least 5, 10 startups every beginning of the month. That's what I look at least. We have a Norwegian portfolio. Now we grew it to 3 common investments in Norway, and we are gonna probably end up to 8 to 10 investments by end of this year. That's our target. So we already have kind of, I work, I don't do elevator pitches overall. I am more like a slow growth type of investor, if you call it this way. I like to establish relationship, understand, especially such an early stage where there's a lot of metrics which are missing, right? So we obviously have in the pipeline already the investments, and we will make a new investment in May, and then in 2 months, etc., etc. So the investments that we have are in different industries, but what unites them is basically they are something to do with mostly business to business model and SaaS tech platforms, and sometimes renewables, more like solar and these kind of things. Marketplaces are also something that we've been looking at, etc. So that's where our interest lies. We also have investments outside of Norway. So I think our portfolio is on loan now around 7 or 8 total investments with 1 exit. And then basically we are growing our Norwegian and also Northern European investments. So that's shortly about me.
Thank you, David, for the intro. So you obviously meet a lot of founders and a lot of startups. So what are the criteria you normally look at when you evaluate a startup?
Okay, I'll try to be short here too. So yes, I do meet a lot, and I do meet a lot of amazing people, which enriches me every time. One thing that I do, and I kind of is I'm very OCD on every time creating a flywheel, a system, how you make your life easier. Because if you're gonna do this big volume, because early stage investments is a lot of times about numbers and about hedging your bets, because it's a quite high risk investment. So that means you have to cherry pick. You have to get the cream of the startups. And a lot of times early stage also means that you don't have the traction, you don't have the numbers, you don't have a lot of metrics, which you have at the later stage. So I think that's why it's important to be very kind of disciplined on how you do it. So your question, Mai, is I think it's very different from case to case basis. But if I distill it in a couple of quick points, for me, it's how prepared the founders are. Because I think the key in everything, I break down the investment process in 3 major parts. It's the prep, it's the middle part, and then you got the actual raise. And a lot of times, founders are impatient, and sometimes rightly so, and they already are in the last phase because they want to raise money fast, and they basically want your investment today or yesterday. And this is not how it works. And you need to understand who your audience is, who you're talking to, and put yourself in that investor's shoes. And if you're prepared, that shows, right? So the prep stage is extremely important, right? Who is this investor? Where have they invested before? Why? What is their thesis? Can I find this info online? Can I find it by asking others? I see their portfolio companies that they've invested. Can I give a call or write to a portfolio company and then understand? Because it's all about using the time properly, your time and investors' time, and matching as close as possible before you get into the call, right? So I think that's important. The second part is the middle part of the investment, which is you have to allow yourself to have much longer time on creating relationship with somebody. And that's why you have to start planning, look at your runway, start planning 6-8 months ahead of your actual raise when you need the money in the bank account. And that is key and critical, especially when you move on to the next stages. Like, if you're raising an angel round, it's one thing, but if you're raising pre-seed and the seed, it's another thing. So I think the key is, especially when you don't have maybe a product developed yet, you don't have the MVP and stuff like that, the way you create the most important currency, which is trust, is by having this ongoing relationship. And after the first meeting, being able to provide your progress to the investor and create that trust level why this investor should invest with you, right? Within you, right? Mostly at this stage, we invest A and B and C in the founders, in people. And that is only determined by having some kind of a relationship. As really, because nobody telling me, oh, if I meet you the first time, I'm not the type of guy who will tell you, oh, I know, I've seen so many people, I know exactly who you are. No, that's impossible in my head. So yes, you get a first impression, but the key is building on that and understanding what skills does this person have, and most importantly, what motivation does this person have to persevere through this crazy journey of being a founder. So that's kind of my view on your first question.
Yes, thank you. It's a very thorough answer to my question. So my second question to you is, what are the typical mistakes that founders make when they approach investors?
Yeah, I kind of touched upon this in the previous one, but I think the key mistakes are if you talk. So it depends. So you really have to have a proper strategy when you're raising. No matter where you're raising, usually FFF round, which is family, friends, and fools, as I call it, that is different. But all the other subsequent rounds, even the business angels, you need to understand: is this the right match? Right? So investors also make a lot of mistakes, and a lot of investors, we have this FOMO moment, right? So we do take meetings sometimes on the fear of missing out. Many don't, but some do. But the thing is, like, being able to determine, is this the right match? So if you're bringing me a marketplace product within a luxury brand, and I'm a cryptocurrency blockchain investor, mostly, we're probably going to finish the meeting in 5 minutes, or I'm just going to listen, and it's not going to go so many places. That's one. The second one is being very clear within your communication, right? So why are we having this conversation? Is it because you're preparing for your subsequent and later round in time, or is it something that is hot and happening now? So the mistakes is not being able to set the scene properly from that first slide. What is it that you need talking to this person? Okay, you need investment, you need introductions, because there's many different reasons why you might be meeting that investor, right? You need their network, you need, maybe those investors are so, we've done so many investments in one area that you kind of picking our brain. That's the way to start is okay, if you're building the money transferring service, and we've done a lot of investments in here, that's one of the way for you to validate your ideas. So be extremely kind of clear, what is the purpose of that meeting, right? So I think we can go on, but the other thing is, one last thing I would say here is, if you don't know things, don't make them up on the meeting, because I think that's one of the key things, is it's always going to come and bite you. I know we're recording, pardon my French, but bite you in the ass, because this is how it is. If we know that there is a lot of things you have to figure out, so go back, try to get to the bottom of it, the market, the numbers, something, and come back and just give it straight, or do a follow-up and stuff like that. Don't make too many things up, because that's just going to come and bite you, yeah, in the behind.
Yes, thank you. Right, and now we would move on to the pitches. So the way we set up is that each founder would have 5 minutes to pitch. So I will be very strict with the time here. Founders who are pitching, and I will cut you off at 5 minutes because we do have the time limit for the session. And then they will also have around 10 minutes of feedback with you, David. So also I will cut you at 10 minutes when the time is up.
Perfect.
Right. And the first founder to pitch is Yulia. So Yulia, whenever you're ready, please share your screen and go ahead. And also remember to unmute.
Yeah, my purpose here is probably to practice straight, signifying my purpose being here. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we see the Zoom screen.
Oops. I need to. Oh. If you don't mind, I'm so sorry. I need to connect the charger. Okay, I'm ready.
Wait, hold on. We only see your Zoom screen and not your presentation.
You see my presentation now?
No?
No? Uh, what about now?
Yes, now we see it.
Super,
We see the problem slide.
super. Let's go. Tell me if slides. Can you see? Do they change?
Yes, yes.
Super. Then it's
Okay,
working. Let's go.
okay, go ahead.
Let me go straight to the problem. Did you know that half of fish processed is actually wasted, and quite a significant portion of it are fish skins? And this is a epic fail because fish skins actually are more expensive than other parts of fish, and thus I decided to create a high-end accessories for ambassadors of sustainable fashion because our solution are made to last, to impress, of course, to function, and to help nature to strive because we give extra value, added value to the precious material, which looks actually very luxury. It has a unforgettable appearance, scales appearance, and many customers are asking if fish wasn't killed specifically to make a bag, and they are killed not for this purpose. We are distinguished to have minimalistic design. It doesn't have any fish smell. It's a sustainable solution to give this further value to this precious material. It's very strong and durable. It has high quality, and it's solely handcrafted products. So you can see some more examples what I do myself currently. I have a range of bracelets, watch straps, bags, and my key targeted audience are celebrities, bloggers already have fish skin products, those people who like to test new things first, and exclusivity and luxury lovers are among my customers. And so far, Fisking already in 2024 got high appraisal from amazing woman, fantastic woman, Karen Elleman. She is the Secretary General for the Nordic Council of Ministers, and she is actually a former Minister of Environment, Equality, and Fisheries in Denmark. Fisken already became this year a top 3 innovator in Gjøvik, and in 2003, Fisking got massive coverage in the media. So as you can see, a lot of work has been done. We have a website, we have a product range, boxes, marketing, everything is set. And as the potential for luxury goods is tremendously growing, and by different sources give different data. But is at least in the coming 4 years, the luxury market should grow at least by 18%. Some even optimistically say it might double in next 5 years. And the biggest market is the United States. I'm planning to focus there and also on some other luxury capitals, including Japan, because they have already demonstrated their attitude to Norwegian salmon. And talking about founder, it's me. I'm highly motivated person who really love fish, and this love is coming from fishing. I'm a big lover of nature, and I actually became a Ukrainian champion in fishing and also Norwegian just recently. And I was studying fish biology, marine biology, aquaculture. So I really have a scientific approach to the environment, and I love myself luxury, beautiful, amazing, sophisticated things. So here I combine my passion in my brand. So let's turn fast fashion to wise fashion, and my 3 core values is that fashion can be sustainable, should be sustainable, and sustainable can be beautiful. This is what I believe. And the third belief is that anyone can accomplish anything if he puts effort and constantly changing and improving his idea. So this sets me largely apart. My will, my personal story, and the sustainability approach, which is in core of the business. I already secured suppliers in Norway, and it also puts me apart because my supplier, she produced fish skin without hazardous chemicals released to the water during the tanning process. I make everything at home now, but I plan to outsource production step by step. I think that's all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to Fisking. I will be happy to see you there on my social medias.
All right. Thank you, Julia. David, do you have any feedback for Julia?
Sorry, Maya, I couldn't hear you. Could you say that again?
Do you have any feedback for Julia?
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, sure, it's my time. Thank you, Julia, for this very interesting presentation and the pitch. I know that you underlined that this, for you, this was to practice your pitching. But let me just ask you a couple of questions, right? So, first of all, what is the pitch deck for, or who is your audience? So I know you wanted to practice, but is this pitch deck for raising money to an investor? Is this pitch deck as a sales pitch? Is this pitch deck to your partners in kind of supply? So what is this pitch deck? What is the purpose of objective of the pitch deck?
Everything what you mentioned before, but predominantly, of course, to secure investment. So I'm looking into people with experience in fashion and sustainability minded.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, I think, this is a generic comment to others also, but it's pitch decks, and you can imagine, as I said, like I'm a investor that hasn't been operating so many years, and we are small and growing, and I already have probably, I don't know, 30, 40 pitches probably a week, something like that. So I think it's very important to differentiate and a clear messaging, right? So I think the first thing is if this, so the pitch has to be different based on what you're doing. So as you have defined the objective that this pitch deck is to raise the money, then we approach it from that angle, because the pitch deck for your partners in terms of how you're going to do your bring your product to the market or etc., that has to be a different kind of pitch deck. So if we define that this is for raising, one thing that is important to know is what you put, how you set the scene at the beginning of your pitch deck. So if you want to raise money, you have to put that very early. So this is the purpose why you're talking to an investor. So this and really put in there a very short, okay, listen, I'm raising a pre-seed round, or I'm raising a seed round of X million or whatever it is, because then you set the scene. So everything else that comes in there, yes, I know predominantly that's why you talk to the investors, but you need to give spoon feed people who have very short attention spans and are seeing a huge amount of data. So more direct you're going to be, the better your pitch will be remembered. So what you're doing, and then you start. So I think the part I liked is you have a good story, right? So a lot of times, I guess have you raised any outside capital before? No. So if you're going to be doing this, and I'm not going to talk about the strategy at the moment because that's a different conversation. We have to keep short. Pitch feedback is that if you raising the first time, right? So you probably need to concentrate on the certain things. And I think that first time raising, it's mostly investing in you as a founder. So you did a good job on answering why you're doing this. But it came very much below in the deck. So I would push that very early, because that's what you have, right? Your strength is that you are passionate about fishing. You are a was it marine biologist or yeah? So you know you are a specific set of skills why it could make you the best person, the secret sauce, call it this way, of why you would succeed with this idea, right? So I think that is important to bring it a little bit earlier than in later, right? So that's one thing which is important. Then depending how much you're raising, what you're aiming for, there is a number of things that you could include in there. And I know that you talked about the problem, but I didn't get the link between the problem and the product. So are you doing this product because there is a big fish waste? Or is it like so just don't be afraid to spoon feed a little bit more even, right? So are you doing this in order to save the environment and save the, you know, is that the main one, or is it something else? So kind of be a little bit more concise what the problem is and what you're actually trying to solve. So by designing luxury brands, are you going to solve the problem of fish waste? Is that what I should take out from it? Then make that even more concrete. Try to get more numbers and say that how you gonna do what you're gonna do and how big scale you're planning to achieve. This is how it's going to take care of that problem. Because when I look at how big the fish waste problem is overall, and I don't know the industry so well, you know, by selling premium and a small scale products is not going to solve it. It's going to be a good addition to it, but that's not what it drives. So really connect the problem to your solution, right? So with a little bit more numbers, right? So then going forward, I think you already have the products. So I think I would definitely talk about the uniqueness of the process of making your product. So and talk about your competition. Don't be afraid. Most of the startups are very afraid of talking about competition. Putting a competition slide early enough and talking about others that are doing this is a good thing, because if investors, especially you're talking to, don't know this area, they will have this metric of competition as a potential of what you could achieve. So the way you should do it is you talk about your competition, but you say why you can do something better, quicker, bigger. So don't be afraid to put in there, because then I will say, oh, you know what, I don't know this market, but if Julia is telling me that, you know, these people in this country have done it successfully, and they have X, because you don't have the metrics yet, but they do, and they have X, Y, Z million, then I will be able to say, okay, it's not only this huge market, which is very generic. Okay, yeah, it's a big market size, but that is not in itself telling me about the opportunity. Okay. So talk about that. And I think when, again, you're very early stage, so that we have to be careful what expectations we have. But if you do, you talked about your, like, first time founders, a lot of times they concentrate on product and it's the right thing. And then the serial entrepreneurs and next time founders, they talk about distribution. They talk about how they bring the product to the market. That's a super important part. And I know it might be early, but as much as you can show an investor of how you take your idea, your product to the market a little bit more. So have you thought about it? What is Julius? I know you won't have a concrete plan or something like that, but like, how difficult is it? And do you have a plan? Like, is it going to be still partnerships? I know some large companies, Cliff Bar, let's take in US, right? When they made these amazing bars and they wanted to distribute, and you've got Whole Foods. I mean, it's such a complicated process to get in with these big companies that should send out your. So have you found some other kind of a interesting approaches how you're going to put these products in the market? So you talked about the kind of your marketing a little bit, but elaborate that a little bit more, because I think the route to market, GTM, is very important in this equation, right? And one slide I really like is what could go wrong. Very early stage, because you have such a interesting product, but it is volatile product, right? So we, instead of take the narrative, ownership of the narrative. So because you know this so well, talk about what is it? Is there pricing? that can be very difficult because it's a, is it a commodity product? Does it, where do you buy this? You talked about the supplier, but is it like a market, like coffee beans, and you collect it? Is it going to be always this cheap? How is it going to impact your margins and stuff like that? So if you know these things because you've been researching and spending hours and hours, put that slide in there, explain to the investor what potential risks are and how you're mitigating it, right? Because that avoids people sitting saying, no, it's too risky. You know what? You take ownership of the narrative, okay? And then finally, be very clear if you're raising money and you know that you're raising, let's say 5 million or 500,000, whatever it is, what those funds will be used for. So are you going to get more team members? Are you going to develop a platform? Is this going to be used to, expand your distribution in some way around? Be very concise on that. Your ideas, your thoughts, and then that is going to build the confidence of somebody investing, knowing exactly where the money is going. Okay.
Thank you very much. Really good comment. Size, we're currently at Charge. We're going to start our economical part in May. So I do hope I will work more about this and we will collect more indicators. I wrote everything. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can I ask you if that's possible for you to give maybe through my a presentation, at least one presentation, which you think is just perfect?
I can't really hear what you said. Could you just say it again, or maybe Mai, if you heard it, just.
No, I couldn't hear it at all.
I will mute myself. So let's see if I can.
About pitch, if you know if you have a presentation of a perfect pitch, would be really cool to see it as an example.
Okay, I can share with you guys one or two examples. The key here is it's super different. So this is the thing. I can share you like a framework, what I usually say, but I'm not a believer of generalizing also because your business is so different from Danny's business. And there is the elements that only you can determine. But of course, I can share what I just said in terms of kind of as an example. Yeah, that I can do.
All right, thanks a lot, David. So the next founder to present is Danny.
Hey everyone. So I need to share my screen, right?
Yes.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see the presentation.
Okay. It's and you can see the slides moving as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. So my name is Danny. I am a serial entrepreneur and a self-taught fashion designer. I have 12 years of experience in sustainable fashion, and prior to launching my own company, Bastet Nar, I've been working as a sustainability consultant for Vivienne Westwood and Stella McCartney. So today I'm raising $215,000 for a 20% stake in Bastet Nar, and I'm also looking for mentors and advisors. So the outdated and inefficient sizing system contributes to a staggering 10 million tons of clothing ending up in landfills every year. Out of those, around 30% are attributed to online returns due to wrongful fit. So my company, Bastet Nar, has come up with a solution to address this issue straight to its roots. By disrupting the way fashion is produced, we've set up a scalable made-to-measure production model that only lasts for 1 to 3 business days. We utilize luxury craftsmanship techniques to deliver beautiful, high-quality and sustainable clothing pieces crafted out of dead stock fabrics. So I've included another slide here that I haven't in the presentation that I've sent, but I think it's important to discuss this because our long-term vision goes far beyond what we are doing right now. So first of all, we want to optimize made to order, which means optimize production to be able to support small communities of women single parents on a global scale and not just locally. And another thing is to create AI-powered made-to-measure clothing retail spaces in key cities like London, New York, Oslo, which means digitalizing the tailoring experience. What that means is essentially creating a modern day Savile Row type of experience for women and introduce a new sustainable and zero waste production concept. But we are so much more than just a simple clothing label, because at the heart of everything that we do, there's the community of women single parents and domestic abuse victims that we work with. And our ultimate goal is to lift them out of poverty and facilitate financial freedom in a society where they don't get the living wage salary. Since launching the label, we've been featured in some of the biggest fashion publications out there, among which Vogue, Refinery 29, and Marie Claire. We've made around $300,000 in sales by bootstrapping and with $0 debt, and also with $0 spent on advertising. But the biggest achievement that we've had, I would say, is the impact that we've had over our community of women single parents by drastically improving the quality of their lives as well as the quality of the lives of their children. So now we need your help to get this company to the next level. By investing in us, you will not only invest in a business, but you'll also help us improve the quality of the life of people who have been behind the scenes for far too long. So I'd love to hear from you. I've left my contact details here. Please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dani. And now, David.
Thanks, Dani. A really well put together presentation. Well done. I had a quick look at it before jumping in. So I think you were clear in the beginning that this was an investor pitch because you were raising money, and you put your kind of what you were looking for very early. So I'll try to give a bit of my thoughts on the contents, but again, disclaimer, I don't do this area, so I don't know it very well, right? So I think first of all, compelling story is always the one that sells, right? So I think you starting by explaining, I think, why you're doing it. And this is the funny thing. Mai asked me a question earlier, and I think I forgot to say it, but a lot of times when I evaluate very early stage founders, I ask this question is not what you're doing, but why you're doing it. And I think for the people that met me at the Charge, they probably heard this too, because, you know, entrepreneurship is difficult, and there's a lot of great ideas and a lot of people doing very similar things. But if I can really see through why you're doing it and really understand the motivation behind it, because it's going to be perseverance, it's going to be authenticity, it's going to be focus. If the early stage investors feel that the why is answered correctly, so I think that's an important part to start there, right? Sorry
to interrupt you. So you think the why should be first, like front and center, right?
That's me, right? And I always, because you know there is very little of many other things. So before we dive into the product, because pre-seed seed investors, they still very much invest in teams. It's a cliche, but this is what it is. You invest in team first, then you invest in the product.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So if how should I measure the, yes, you are a serial entrepreneur. So I think there you can also expand a little bit on your track record, because it's all about building confidence and trust that you, Danny, as a person is capable of taking this money and running with it. And you also have to put yourself in the shoes of the investors. Okay, why are they investing? Investors are not investing because they're just nice and they just want to give you money, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not the purpose. So early stage, how do the brains work of the early stage investors, right? So it's very different who you're talking to. Are you talking to a family office? Are you talking to the business angel? Are you talking to a corporate? Are you talking to a VC? Stuff like that. So, and within that, it's also very different. And I'll give you an example. So early stage investors, they're taking a huge risk, not more than entrepreneur, but they're also taking quite a large risk because they're going to be diluted, especially depending on the business, but if the business is going to keep raising the money, right? And they're in a long game. So they have to be together with you. They have to trust you. Now, early stage investors also need higher returns, right? So you're talking about not X2, X3, X5, but you're talking about X50, X100, right? Because that's how the numbers will make sense. And you're building a portfolio, and you know that early stage investors usually try to build a portfolio of 10, 20, because you know that unfortunate fact, and this is not to discourage any of you guys, but this is the truth, is that there is a 2, maximum 3 out of 10 startups which will do okay, and maybe kind of 1 or 2 of them which will do really okay, really well. So knowing this is like, how do you get in their mind that you want them to give you your money? So I think this is important, that you show them the A to Z in your pitch of how, why, and then say that again. So I think it's a very important, before you start talking about your product, I think you should, why did you decide to do it? You had a great career, stuff like that. I know that big problems in the world, but why did you do it? So I think if you can articulate, and it doesn't always have to be written in the slide per se, but you have to articulate that. And if you're not, you will probably experience a lot of investors at this stage like me will ask you that. So be at least prepared to do it. So I think it's very good to present the team. Please feel free to go in depth of your serial entrepreneurship, how you puts you apart to doing this idea better with a kind of a competitive edge than others doing it. So make sure that you cover that, because that's what we want to know. Okay, so then it's about the product, getting me excited about the product, right? So I think this is something I didn't see in your presentation, so I didn't understand what your product was. I understand the concept, but do you have a platform? Do you have an app? What is it that you guys have done in order to make this work, right? So you have a kick-ass website, and then what is it? What is the product? Right? So go a little bit in depth on showing and explaining how, when you have had this success, and I've seen that you already have some revenue numbers and stuff like that, how did you generate that? Right? So what is the behind the scenes view of what I am investing in? Is it like and I'm just making it to lighten up the mood also, is it an Excel sheet that you get the order in and then you send it out to whoever is producing it? Or like, how does this work? What is the flow? Because you're talking about scale in your presentation. So I need to be able to see how that scale is achieved, right? Because I don't know, again, this industry, but I do know some of the pain points. And because as a user myself, maybe not women's clothing, but in general, it's like one of the most difficult things is the fact about sizes and stuff like that, of how do you actually make it fit. And I was talking some years ago, an entrepreneur from Denmark, Mond Copenhagen. They have men's suits now. They established a couple of years already in in Oslo, and then basically they do already kind of 3D modeling AI, but it's a super challenging space. Nobody yet has cracked it, right? So what is it that you have? Because on your presentation, when I was going through it, I saw this slide where you were saying, okay, how it works, step 1, 2, and 3, but it didn't give me much meat on the bone. So enter basic measurements. Is it just like me writing, oh, I need to take a measurement and measure me and say 54 or stuff like that? Or do you have a more elaborate system because you've done it, you have some insider view, which you make it easier for the customers to do it? So I don't know your business, but explain this. If this is your North Star metric, if this is your hot secret sauce, explain this part better so I get excited as an investor and differentiate your product from many others that might be on the market, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And especially because I know the scalability is one of the things that we are after, right? So if you have something that I can see is scalable, then you are golden. So I'll give you an example. A big company, I won't name them, but like they work at their marketplace, they work within the beauty industry in England and around in Europe. One of the researches they did of their own product is why the flywheel, it wasn't going as fast as possible when it came to scale, because they had a kick-ass UX, great product, but they realized that onboarding of that product took so long time and was so complicated to explain, and it needed so much resources that it just physically wasn't possible to grow at that pace as they thought internally, right? So I think show the scalability to the investor by telling them that, oh, my product is like this, and I'm planning these kind of updates on this product in order for this to be much more scalable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
so
when,
you mean in terms of executing scalability? Because that's a little bit tricky to show. I mean, when you are a small company, right, you have a data of what you are doing at the moment, and you can show that, but nobody knows in the future. I mean, you can predict to some point, but you can't really give a very specific estimate as to how it will scale, because a lot of the things as you grow the business will obviously change. I mean, it's not going to be the same when you are a small business and when you're a big business. So I'm just not sure, how do you demonstrate that scalability? Because I've included like that it takes us between 1 and 3 business days to make the made to measure item, which I know that nobody else has in the industry. But we've made this work so far, and I am 100% positive that we can execute that at a scale.
So I think let's divide this question or your comment back. Is one is show, first of all, it was more about the product itself. So
Right.
so if you have, I don't know what you have still. Like you do this, I understand the concept, but how you do it? Like, is it a website? Is it an app? Do you have some special model? How you enter the basic measurements? And why does this work, right? So you just need to concentrate on demonstrating that a little bit better and exciting investor about the product, right? So if you have a small video of the customer experience, because it's all about your customer's experience. When you come to scale, it comes down to me as a customer sitting and using this, right? So I think it's a little bit about that. Give me a flavor of that. Excitement about your product, right? Not just results, but the product, right? Results matter, but product is very important, right? So that was one part of it. The second part, I know there is a lot of if buts and it's going to change and nobody's going to be able to predict the future. So you're not asking them, but do you have a plan of how you scale? That's what we're looking at. How much have you sat down and looked at it? How much of your previous experience helps you to determine that plan? Because at the end of the day, you have to execute it as a CEO. When you get the money, when you start building the team, I have to understand and look into your brain how you're going to do it. right? So what is like, are you going to work through your partners to scale? Is it going to be direct to consumer model? So something that gives me an understanding of your thinking, and it will change, and it probably will pivot, and that's fine. Because
yeah, sorry to interrupt you. The
no
issue with all of this is the timing, because you only have 5 minutes, so you can't really cover a lot of it. I mean, you do have obviously, we do have a pitch deck that's very long with all the information inside, but it's just like what type of information you choose to showcase.
You're absolutely right, but
Yeah.
in my opinion, those are important things. So I would try to take away some of the stuff. Like I would try to, for example, how it works, I would do a little bit differently in order for that to make impact, right?
Right.
So we're talking about product, and then why customers can't get enough of us. That's a great slide, but for example, it's so detailed and small, investors are gonna read it.
So
I think
to wrap up, so we can move on to the next participant. So
yeah, just one final point on this. I think you have a lot of things which are numbers, and I think that's great. Show them, make sure that you have them up there. But when it comes to your what you asking money for, be even a little bit more specific. All investors like this. So when you say public relations marketing like that, so what do you mean? Go a step farther. Don't hesitate to show, like, okay, listen, 30% of these goes here, 20% goes on development of something. And I just wanted to say, you brought in the AI. Be careful to bring in the AI, because what most of the startups I talk to are doing, a lot of them right now, is, I call it, before it was greenwashing, now it's AI washing. They bring in the AI. So make sure that it sounds genuine, and make sure where you bring it and why you bringing it, and explain how. So how much have you thought about it? And if you're bringing AI, do you have a strong CTO? Is this going to be off the shelf AI, which you're gonna, and then why is that important component of your, so just explain that a little bit farther, so it doesn't end up in investors' minds, another startup with right? So just a little comment. Last one, sorry, on this one is, you talked about your value, how much you were raising, and for what. Just make sure that if you're thinking through your raise strategy, that you're not giving up too much of your ownership very early, because it sounded to me a bit of a big percentage for the money, but it doesn't mean that it is. I'm just saying, make sure you look at your cap table, who owns it. And if you're planning, so if your plan is to have a free cash flow and finance your business from there, it's one thing. But if you do need certain subsequent rounds in order to grow really in different markets, make sure that you think that the next round, when you go to the VCs and stuff, how will they look at it? And you don't already have a broken cap table. So by the way, I know I'm over the time, but if you want to talk, we can arrange. I mean, this is just, I have to cover as much as possible in this short time. We could try to have a follow-up or something like that, facilitated by Mai later on. So
thanks for the feedback. Yeah, thanks.
No worries.
All right, thank you, Danny, for the presentation, and David for the feedback. And our last participant is Nasruddin. Nasruddin, are you here?
Hello, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I will share my screen with you in a moment. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
That's fine. Yes. So yeah, my name is Nasruddin, and I am behind a mobile app called FullCycle. And it's basically about recycling bottles and boxes, and by just using your phone, basically. And this is our team. We are people of 3, and we have a diverse team, which has, some of us has a background of IT, and we have a project management who has also an education within administration, and that's her place and to help us with. And so far we have started first time, and cycle was in 2019. That was born as and it was the first time I started as an idea. And by 2020, and I have started to work with this idea and to realize it. And that time I registered it as a sole and proprietorship. And I also made a vision and a prototype. And by 2020, and it was a significant milestone for us because we managed to raise 90,000 Norwegian crowns from Innovation Norge. And this has also helped us to keep developing with this project and do very important parts. And in 2023, and we have done some tests of this idea in a school, in schools in Norway. And that was like a videregående skole. And we have got the valuable feedbacks to see what we can fix and also make it improve. And then in 2024, I came to Denmark after I got married, and then I started to keep working with my project. And that was also another milestone because we got the first customer of a library which is in Kolding. And we have established a cooperation also with some others, coffees and businesses to give us some discounts when people do recycling. And the reason for this idea was because of the climate threats when it comes to plastic. So just in Norway, there is 53.5 million cans and 4.5 million bottles that ends up in the waste. And this is estimated as 200 million crowns that goes straight to the waste. And also by environmental, of course, we all know that the problems it brings to the nature, and it takes like hundreds of years to decompose, and aluminiums can take up to 200 years. So needs, and we want to purchase more recycling stations, and then to bring it to more places. Our idea is that recycling should be available wherever you are. We want to work on marketing and visibility because not many people knows about this, and we see ourselves as the first movers. So there's not many like us in the market. We are also seeking for expertise so people can help us within this field. And we also want to work with to develop the system to become better and that it will be more user friendly, and also logistics and transportations. That's something that we also want to look into, and so we know exactly like what should we expect in that part when we grow. And a financial focus, and we are thinking that there will be income of from bottles and cans like 2 crowns for each bottle, the same as when you return it into the store, and an advertising revenue. And after being 5 weeks in Kolding library, we have gained 81 users. Right now is 160, and we expect to increase with the same amount of numbers each month, and with an assumed of 8 ads per user. This means that we will generate about, and that we will have a revenue of 1.62 by month, and a membership of 1,000 crowns for each partner. And this is very short how we have how we will see in the future, like what we think we will make by a plan of 18 months. And so this solution is basically, and there's four stages of it, and it's this recycling made easy. It will allow users to locate and find the nearest recycling stations. And number 2, they will get rewarded. And then this is a cost-effective solution compared to the ones that we see today. And this is a very good for the environment, of course. And the user case is basically that number one, you find the nearest recycling station. Number two, you scan your bottle. And number three, you drop your bottle and then you get your reward. And this is all AI. So we are using AI to see when a person is holding their bottle and when they drop it. So we don't use any other electricity other than the phones of the users. This was supposed to be a short video, but I guess we don't have the time for it. And this is our contact information. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. David.
Thanks, Nasruddin. Exciting to see you guys solving very important problems, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna dive into a little bit of a couple of questions for you, and also give you a bit of feedback. So just, you know, like previously, feel free to ask back and have a dialogue. So I think first of all, as an investor, when I look at this, I need to define what it is that you guys are doing. So I think how does this differentiate from the solutions that are on the market? Because obviously what comes in my head right away is Tomra and the stuff that I do where I go to the store. So there's a lot of stores, there's a lot of points, and I put in my bottle and I either click on the Red Cross one or a kind of put the money payback. So I think for me, it's like, okay, I see you came to the problem a little bit, but just tell me a little bit of like, how is this solution different from that one, or is like, you just, yeah, set the scene, please.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and that's of course. I think when you think about this kind of solution, the first thing that comes into mind is the Tomra, because Tomra is basically the ones that's having the solution for, or big part of this cake. But with us, we're thinking this is going to be an alternative to Tomra. So we are not seeing ourselves competition against Tomra, because with the machines that Tomra is making, it wouldn't be able to place it in your office, for example, or in the canteen, or even in school. But this is a whole normal, is it like a normal trash bin. So there's nothing on it, and it can be placed anywhere the same way as you would have done with your trash bin. And at the same time, you will get your reward for recycling.
So what you're doing is you making this even more convenient for the user, because you're bringing it closer to them by saying, oh, instead of you just throwing it away, here is, you know, it's so convenient that you have it there. Okay, all right.
And we're also thinking, especially like in places where it would be very problematic to place a machine like this. So also even though petrol stations is supposed to take bottles, they don't do that, and many times there are people who's driving car that wouldn't have that possibility to deliver their bottles, and also like in nature and whatsoever. So yeah.
So I have, obviously, in terms of the business model and how the mechanics of this work, we're not going to have time to dive into everything. But so I think my first kind of input will be, say this upfront. So what you just told me, because that's one of your key selling points, because I was a little like, yeah, you guys are tackling something important, but I just didn't get what exactly. So I think what I looked at your slides very quickly earlier, and for me the thing was like the order of how you bring things in, right? And I think that it's important. So I think it's good that you're looking at a team, but I would say, are you guys the first time founders?
Yeah, we are first time founders.
So the kind of couple things on the team. First of all, I think here, in my humble opinion, bring in your product first. Kind of, and bring it how you explain to me right now. So listen, don't be afraid to put things like, for example, when people know Burton skateboards, don't like, or Kleenex as a brand which became something, don't be afraid to set the scene by saying, hey, this is how they are solving it, but this is what differentiates us, right? So create the dynamic, and don't be afraid of talking your competition, just to show the size in more concreteness, because your stuff is untested and that stuff is tested, right? It does work to some extent, but there are gaps. So I think for me, more than starting from the journey, because I think journey is nice to explain, but it's more like backup slide or something like that. I think it's more about, hey, what is this exciting stuff you guys are doing it? And then of course, problem statement is very important usually, because you need to set the scene of how does the world look like and how it will look like. But I think within the problem statement, I would try to, so usually I say this to the guys is when problem statements become too large, we all kind of somehow know it. But what you need to do, if you imagine, is like you make this big circle, smaller circle, and smaller circle, and zero in that smaller circle, like times some kind of a thing of what you're solving it at this moment, but then what the problem and opportunity size is bigger, right? So how you reflect it and how you kind of put it together, it does matter. It might be saying the same thing, right? Again, it's about how much we can remember, and as investors, right? So if I have looked at 20 pitches today, I have to remember yours about how you tackling big problem, how you're going to achieve this thing. So I think on the problem statement, be a little bit more concrete, because I think your slide 4 and slide 5, I believe you can combine those really nicely with big numbers. So
Okay.
instead of a lot of text, just give me like big numbers, and then try to make this funnel of what it means for Norway first, maybe. And it's up to you how you want to do it. But I would look at it like, okay, what does it mean for Norway? And what does it mean for Europe, Northern Europe, whatever? And what does it mean globally, right? So kind of look at that as an alternative solution. Needs slide is good. I would call it like a ask. So what are you asking? What is your objective of the slide? And I would try to make it it's too many. So
Okay.
usually humans, we are like psychology-wise, there's like 3 choices we can remember and choose from. Everything else about that becomes too much. Average people. So I think just put your most important. So what is the most important objective here? If it is to raise money, put that overall, and then put the other things a little bit below or a smaller scale, right? So make sure that you keep focus what it is, because if you're asking for too many things, it gets too confusing, right? So I'm trying to run through it, and please ask me questions. So so product and your team. So the key here is not just to introduce the team, but tell me why your team is equipped to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, what is your, so maybe it's because Farouk has this amazing CTO experience, but I need to know that. So like your slide, it's nice to have photos and stuff like that, but smaller photos maybe, and a little bit more on, okay, bang, bang, bang. This is the experience. This is what we've done. This is why our team is equipped to do this better, quicker, something like that, right? So that is the key when you're introducing the team. All right. And then when we come to financial forecast, and again, we don't have time to dive into it, and I have so many questions about how this actually can work in terms of the margins and how you do the collection, and then what is the operating cost there. So we're not going to dive into it. I'm just going to try to keep it top line. Don't put in Excel files.
Oh, okay.
Just
I had actually a better one, but
keep it to the key. So what is the message you want to tell me? That the key is how you're going to grow, right?
Exactly.
So whatever Excel you're going to make, it's just going to be based on some kind of weird assumptions anyway, right? At this stage. But what is the messaging, right? So if you're telling me, so what do you want to tell me with this 18 months budget or projection, is that you want to tell me, here's where we are, here's how we're going to grow. It's going to go 300%, it's going to grow 500%, something like that. Big things, key things you want, because I'm not going to read that Excel. Trust me. And that level is the next level. So if this is kind of a hook, and then I come in and I try to do a small due diligence, and then you can share the Excel file. We can talk about it. But first stage, please, keep it to the top line. What is it that you're after? So financial forecast slides 7 and 8, I think you can nicely combine it. Before you go to financial forecast, because you are a bit advanced maybe already, then maybe it is talk about your business model. Before I start, you have the elements of it, but again, talk about your route to market business model. So just explain that first, and then link it to what the numbers will show, right? So because I don't know what your business model is, and suddenly you're bringing in, oh, it's going to be advertising also, but there's a lot of nuances there. Okay, how are you going to get this app in the hands of people? How are we going to introduce them? Is it going to, like, how are the downloads are going to happen? And one of the common mistakes is that app user is not the right definition of how the ads will impact our work or not, right? Because it's about the app, like, for example, many different examples, but let's say you have to do an action. So if you have action, like define that a little bit better of what is in your head, how you're thinking to monetize this, what is your, like, you have to have that slide, maybe a combination of your business model / go to market, right? So are you going to do this? Is this the purely consumer? Are you going to do all the marketing towards the consumer? So how are you going to get this? What level do you need to get to? So are you going to get 1 million users in a year's time, and how you're going to get there? So I think those are the elements before you start focusing on financials, even more important than the financials that come on the second stage. And the solution, I think, again, when you talk about your problem, you should talk about your solution and excite and talk more about how your product works early on, because that's what you start define. Okay, what am I looking at? I don't know what I'm looking at, but I have so much other information, but I need to understand how you're doing it. And I think we talked about it. If you can define that very early, okay, then you've set the stage, you've excited me. Oh, your product is different from these other things. This is how it's different. This is actually how it works. And then we can start dissecting those things when we come below, right? And these short videos and stuff like that, they are amazing. They do really picture, set, sound, the words, this kind of demos, things like that. So if you have something like this, make sure it does work. So when I received the pitch deck too, it was working. So if you want to do that, make sure that that technically actually does work, or don't put it in there and run the live demo during the pitch deck with the investor. Okay. So I think that's kind of about it. So if you want to shout a couple of questions, I don't know how much time we have. We are over time probably, but I'm happy to answer. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, like,
Wait, hold on. So we are over time, but David, if you have time, please.
Yeah, I did 1.5 hours, so I have a couple more minutes more. Yeah.
So anyone who have questions, feel free to stay. Or if you have to leave now, then also go ahead. Yeah. So Nasrin, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was thank you for your feedbacks, but it's always about what is the most, because if you only have 5 minutes, then it's very hard to know, like, what should I prioritize in order of getting the attention and giving the information that you want to give out to the investor. So how should what should it be prioritized first before everything else?
I think the similar feedback to Danny. I think the key is here, you know your business best, right? So if your biggest card is your team and you don't have the MVP and you don't have the product developed yet or anything like that, of course, then you focus on your team. Right? Yeah. If you're a serial entrepreneur, you have had successes, stuff like that, so it depends. So it's not a one fit answer to all. It's more like, okay, what is it that you want to bring forward? Now, when I looked at your concrete case, this is my feedback as an investor. If you were pitching to me, this is the stuff that I already told you in that 5 minutes, which I would expect. Getting excited and knowing more about your product. And it's about the order too, because you're using the pitch deck for a couple of reasons. One is you sending it out to that investor and you're expecting that it's catchy enough for me to say yes to the meeting, right? So if it's not catchy enough and I start reading it and then it's like, oh, okay, it takes me a lot of time and effort to figure out what you want to say, I'm going to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So the sequence is very important, right? And this is why I'm not able to tell you exactly, but in your case, I believe more than starting with the team and the timeline, it's more about your product and defining what you're doing, because you have something unique. It's differentiated from the solutions that are in the market today, right? And you're providing convenience. That's the stuff that you're solving. So excite about the product, talk about the problem, talk about your team, right? Talk about your business model, right? And then go into the financials if you have them.
Okay.
So I think this is the stuff, and I think a lot of slides, I mean, concretely for you, I would combine those slides together, like for example, and change the sequence of it. For example, psych use case can be together with the product, right? So group them more intuitively for the investor to follow, right? So if you want to run your short demo and video, do it as soon as you explain your product, right? So I think, and then for example, the solution and the product can be combined in one slide, and then don't prioritize the 18 months Excel thing, remove it totally. And don't have a financial forecast with a lot of details in there, but put your business model, how you making money, and then put some key numbers and how your growth is. So this is the way you prioritize your 5 minutes, right? So again, just make sure that you know your business best, but sit down and say, hey, let me pitch it. I at a lot of times when founders start, I tell them, pitch it even to your friends and do this in real time and ask them really, like, did they understand what you were trying to say? Without and then you get feedback and you iterate, right? So not all feedback, and again, I mean, it's for you guys to take it or leave it. This is only my opinions by watching a lot of other pitch decks, but I think it's important that you know your business. So your strengths, if it's the team, put that out there. If it's a product, put that as the first. If it's the metrics that you already achieved some success, like Dani, for example, she has already a revenue, stuff like that, put that more in the top, right? So that's my feedback.
Thank you.
Julia raised her hand.
Thank you very much for valuable comments. I was wondering, like, I have never done like the serious pitch for investments, so I don't know how is it going on, but basically what I understand is like fishing. So you come and the idea is to show the potential, and then like you don't have to put everything in this 5 minutes, just the main key triggers which will attract the investor, and then probably you will have, obviously they will not give you money straight away, right? You will have a second session when you will discuss all those details, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is an elaborate process, and it all depends on, again, doing a good prep. So different investors, they behave in different ways. So also it would be nice to understand and setting the scene, right? So you're absolutely right. You might have only 15 minutes to pitch, and then you have to modify what you show. But the key is bring your strongest points first. And there are some basic things which you have to show. Excite me why you're doing this, right? What is the problem? How you solve? Why you doing this? Why you're the best to solve it? And excite me about your product. And it also depends what stage you're on, right? If you're raising pre-seed, then you would act in one way. If you're raising seed, you would act another way, and etc., etc. So I think this is hard to answer in one simple kind of setting the scene, but it's more like, okay, do you have half an hour? You have 1 hour? You have 15 minutes? You just have to take that temperature and modify. Just the key thing for me is bring your strengths up in the beginning, right? Again, your team is the strongest because you're the right guy because you have a unique competitive advantage, unfair advantage. Put that in there. Convince them that you're the right person because you are marine biologist, you know the fish so well, you've done it, blah, 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 right? So that's what I mean, kind of choose your things. And my feedback was based on kind of course, very top line, because I don't know you guys, but I looked at it and I said, okay, in this case, this would make sense more because you start by much stronger elements. And again, remember the attention span is small. You remember only a few things. And if you're trying to hook someone and send them a pitch deck, of course, you can't have the long one, but it's always smart to have a backup, the session. So if you want to tell more things, put them underneath. So have your main deck part and put the others, because some investors do a good pre-work too. So they are the ones that would sit, because I'm not going to take a meeting. Some investors don't take a meeting if they don't do the pre-work. So then I will say, no, no, no. So then I want to see it. So instead of me coming back and asking you for a lot of things, it might make sense if you have more slides than, for example, 7, 8, 10 key ones, put them in the backup, right? And make sure you guys make slides live. So PDF stuff like that, they usually don't work unless you have a very kind of a stealth startup and you have a very special IP on these and stuff like that, right? So if you have that, then you have to run it differently. Otherwise, these Google links and stuff like that, which you constantly update with the latest information and send that to the investor without them needing to ask for access, right? So again, every time you create something difficult, the guys or girls will move on something which is easier, better, looks, more exciting, stuff like that. Okay. All right, guys, I have to wrap up here. I start a meeting in 6 minutes. So,
All right, and it has been a very insightful session. Thank you a lot, David, for your time. Thank you to all the 3 brave founders who pitched today. And yes, so we will share the recording with everyone afterwards.
and yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I mean, you guys are the heroes here, doing something very special, entrepreneurs in the long, haul. And, I think all individually have, fantastic concepts. So good luck. And if you want to touch base, just talk to Mai, and then we'll figure out if we can do a follow-up session or something like that. Or if you guys need something specifically. As I said, I'm not investor in your particular fields per se, but is there something else I can do? I will try to help. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for organizing, and take care, guys.
Yeah, have a nice weekend, everyone.